This video may be posted at the very end of summer, but honestly at least it isn't fall yet. Anyway, seasonal passenger trains played a relatively large role when it came to the American passenger railroads, and frankly they still do today, although at a slightly smaller scale. Anyway, seasonal trains are trains that run during certain times of the year, which you could probably already figure out. They're all unique in their own ways, with different equipment from the rest, an unorthodox route, or maybe when it runs during particular seasons. Several major railroads had one or two special seasonal trains, but most notably, the Pennsy and the New Haven railroads had some of the most famous examples. While the New Haven had several summer trains up to Maine like the Bar Harbor Express, the Pennsy had a premier summer train to Michigan's Upper Peninsula called the Northern Arrow, but they also had another seasonal train that ran along the Northeast Corridor deep into New England. This is the story of the East Wind. Picture this. It's 1939 and you're a businessman living and working in Washington, D.C. with a wife and kids. Work has been throwing your head all over the place and you just needed to get away for the summer. All the fancy new streamliners to the Palms were too expensive and take too long. You want a train that you have easy access to that can take you to an incredibly underrated part of the American Northeast. Hence, the Pennsylvania Railroad. They decided to collaborate with both the New Haven Railroad and the Boston and Maine of New England to inaugurate a new summer train called the East Wind, with coaches painted in a unique yellow, silver, and blue livery, which was completely unorthodox for a train that was going on the Northeast Corridor. Making stops at a good majority of the Northeast major cities, it was looking like a pretty promising start for the service. Another good start was the marketing and advertising campaigns, which had really sleek looking posters with the unique colors advertising the train's appearance being a step away from the ordinary. The Northeast became a region well suited for this type of service, with those living in the big cities wanting to escape for the solitude, quiet, and relaxation of the faraway resorts on the East Coast. According to Kevin Holland, the train was advertised as the first deluxe all-coach train to Maine and New Hampshire. The East Wind went from Washington, D.C. all the way up to Portland, Maine. It made very limited stops via the Northeast Corridor, stopping at, of course, Baltimore, Wilmington, Chester, Philadelphia's 30th Street and North Philadelphia, Trenton, Newark, New York City, and New Haven. At New Haven, power would switch from the electric to either steam or diesel. Then the train would continue further east to serve Worcester, Ayer, Lowell, Lawrence, Haverhill, Exeter, Dover, Wells Beach, Kennebunk, Biddeford, Old Orchard Beach, Scarborough Beach, and finally Portland, Maine's glorious Union Station. The total route length stretched out to about 700 miles, with trip times being between 11.5 and 13 hours, giving this train an average speed of about 59 miles per hour. Pretty impressive for a wartime train. The East Wind ran daily during the summers only, starting every year on June 21st and ending on September 13th. There would be one trip in each direction, with train numbers being 120 and 121. According to American Rails, weekday trips reportedly ran as far as Bangor, funnily enough, which is a whole 130 miles north of Portland. The train would depart DC at 7 a.m. and arrive at Bangor by 9:30 p.m. that same evening, but weekday runs, however, were truncated to as far as Portland. Accommodations included seat or room reservations, a lounge car, a dining car, and fully air-conditioned coaches, which at the time, considering this was running during World War II, was a ginormous luxury. The consist included a baggage car from the New Haven, modified P-70 coaches from the Pennsylvania Railroad, and sometimes New Haven's unique American Flyer streamlined coaches. The lounge car was provided by the PRR, while the diner was also from the New Haven, although on occasion, a leased diner car from the Atlantic Coastline Railroad would be seen on the train. Unfortunately, the East Wind was inaugurated probably at the worst time possible, as by 1941, America joined World War II, as said a little bit ago. The train ran relatively fine with really good ridership for the first few years, but due to rising conflicts with America and the rest of the world, the train was suddenly discontinued for 3 years, with railroads and locomotive manufacturers locking in as a means to help out with the war efforts. The train was re-inaugurated in 1946, a year after the war ended, except instead of sticking to its original route, it took tons of turns, quite literally. From the words of Wikipedia, the East Wind had to pass through Providence, Rhode Island, and use the Providence and Worcester Railroad to reach Worcester instead of going via Groton and using the Norwich branch. From 1953 to 1955, The train ran via Hartford, Willimantic, and Putnam. By this time, the flashy yellow, blue, and silver paint scheme on the coaches were removed. The train's ridership remained relatively stagnant, but still suffered from declining patronage after the war, as the American public mostly abandoned trains for cars and planes. What makes matters worse with the East Wind is that Mother Nature absolutely hated the living guts out of this train. So much so that not just cars killed it off. Mother Nature also took matters into her own hands. On August 18, 1955, Hurricane Diane, a Category 2 hurricane, struck the East Coast with winds at speeds as high as 105 miles per hour. A massive flooding took place all throughout the Northeast, more specifically in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, where some areas received more than a foot of rain, preventing the train from running at all. Because of this, all three railroads decided to cancel the East Wind the same year, with it not even beginning its last seasonal run on September 13th, as it was cancelled the day of the storm, August 18, 1955. To add insult to injury, after the East Wind was discontinued, the Boston and Maine would discontinue their last remaining commuter services by 1962, while the PRR and New Haven were in rapid states of decline. Then Penn Central happened, and Amtrak, and Conrail, and yada yada yada. In conclusion, the East Wind was certainly a unique train, a part of the vast named Northeastern trains. Sporting its own livery, schedule, and route, it stood out as one of the most luxurious trains in the whole of Northeast during World War II, although it was timed pretty horribly. While it doesn't exist anymore, several trains still go to most of the places it used to serve, like Portland, Haverhill, Exeter, and of course the entire Northeast corridor between Boston and DC. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, you're more than welcome to subscribe, but as always, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good day.